Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2022 Real Property Tax Foreclosure Bidder Seminar. My name is Frank, and I'm one of the auctioneers at Absolute Auction and Realty and the NYSauctions.com team. We've recorded this seminar because we can't do these seminars in person, and many of you have requested to watch these at your leisure. So this is a brief overview. If you want a more extensive information on property tax foreclosure and how it happens and what you can do to participate, we have what's called auction hour seminars on our website, aarauctions.com. There are 3 of them. Each one is an hour long, and you could watch those to get much more detailed information. This is going to be a brief overview, just to give you the information that we generally provide at the in-person seminar. And it's designed to let you watch it at your leisure. First of all, if you have very specific property questions, you want to contact a local town or village building department. Those are the people most informed about these properties, and they can provide you with specific information on the property itself. If you're calling or looking for information about taxes, you're going to want to reach out again to the town or village, the school district, or if you want to learn what the county taxes are going forward, you're going to call the county finance department or treasurer's department. Very general auction and participation questions should be emailed to info@aarauctions.com, and we'll get someone in our company to respond to you as soon as possible. We sell all types of properties at auction: improved, vacant land, majestic property, property that needs little help, of it needs a lot of help. We also have great lakefront property or lake view property. They're quite rare at the auction, but we do have them. So the properties that are in this auction are here because of what's called Real Property Tax Law, Article 11. And there are specific processes that the counties must follow. If you're interested in learning about them, you should do a Google search for NYSRPTL Article 11, and you'll get to the New York State Senate site, and you'll be able to find the real property tax law that I'm speaking about. Before I go too far in this seminar, it's probably a good idea to get out your iPhone camera or your cell phone camera and take some pictures of these slides as we go forward. You can certainly stop and go back, rewind a bit to do that. But there are some things here that you may want to refer to later. Article 11 is the law. Everyone in New York State must pay tax. And in New York State, you're allowed a 2-year and 3-year on certain properties tax delinquency before it will be foreclosed on by the county, title taken, and then according to Article 11 must be sold at public auction. So what are the 2-year parameters? Every property type and classification, whether it's vacant land or improved, will be foreclosed on with a minimum of 2-year tax delinquency. The 3 years applies to agricultural property. And of course, by local law, counties can extend that time period. Property tax foreclosure involves tax bills and notices. There are specific public notices that are published. We'll talk a little bit about interested parties, what's that 90-day notice, and the presumption of validity and final judgment. So everyone gets a tax bill. You'll get an annual tax bill, and you're required to pay it on time. If you don't, there are certain late fees and interest penalties, etc. Even if you don't get your tax bill in the mail, you're still required to pay your taxes. And this has been proven through several court cases and challenges to notification processes. Just be aware that everyone must pay their tax every year, whether you get your bill or not. The public notification, there's a requirement to publicize the list of properties in the official countywide newspapers. There's time frames involved. You'll see these things posted in your legal section. And from there, you could begin doing your basic homework. Our experience is these lists are quite extensive. They're way before the deadlines of taxes that are due. and final. And I wouldn't put too much time and too much stock into this list being complete. Once the properties have received a judge's order signing title to the property to the county, that's when we get a list and we go out and post signs, take photos, and post them to our website. That's typically about 30 days or so, sometimes more, prior to the auction date. That's probably the best time for you to start doing homework. When we talk about homework, and these are interested parties that are notified through a title search, you're going to do the same type of work that the county does. You're going to want to go to the county clerk's office, look for recorded liens, as they are the only liens that are valid. You'll search by the last name, first name of the delinquent property owner, and make a list of any liens or judgments that were discovered. That same list you can verify with the treasurer's office as to who did they notify. Everyone who has a lien, whether it's a bank, a hospital, a small business owner, anyone that has a judgment or a lien against the property in question in the auction, has to be served notice of the impending foreclosure, and they have a period of time to step forward and protect their lien. If they don't do that and basically pay the taxes to keep the property out of the tax auction, then the property will go for judge's review. He'll sign or she'll sign the order of judgment to the county, and then all the liens are wiped away as far as you're concerned. Now, if the county did not discover a lien, let's say it was overlooked, it wasn't found, that lien is a properly recorded lien in the public record, then the property will be transferred to you with that lien still in effect. So that's why we suggest that you do your own title search, verify with the county who they notified, and as long as the items match item for item, then you can rest assured that you won't have any lien issues going forward. Now, we mentioned the IRS. They have 180 days following the date of the auction to buy the property back from you for everything you paid and closing costs. They will not pay for any improvements that you may have made in that time frame. So if you're looking for liens, look for IRS liens also, then verify with the county that the IRS has been notified. If the IRS has been notified and you close and take title to the property, you can request from the IRS in their New York State office for a lien release, and they'll send you a letter stating that they relinquished their lien interest in that property as you are the new owner. Just keep in mind, some liens, again, that are not notified may still be in effect. The 90-day notice that we mentioned has to do, again, for interested parties. They're served notice that they have final 90 days before the judge will sign the order to protect their liens. And if they don't do so, then those liens are extinguished going forward. There has been numerous court cases challenging this entire process, and the bottom line is that it's presumed that as long as the county has followed all the steps of Article 11, that this is a valid foreclosure, it's legal, and that the liens will be transferred to you free and clear of liens going forward. So there are many properties to choose from. Just this week and going into next week, we're going to be visiting approximately 500 to 600 properties for signs and photos. We know you're not interested in all of those properties, so how do you narrow down your choices? Well, first of all, you're going to have to do your homework, and you could be either overwhelmed, quite methodical, or just fatigued by this process. And we understand that. This isn't something that you do every day, so maybe you want to hire somebody to do the searching for you. But if you're going to do it yourself, there are several things that you should be looking for. One of them is the assessment report. You're going to want to look and see how the property is described in the public record. And in the public record, you're also going to find a property tax map, and you can look at that. You'll see a former owner's deed recorded in the public record, any IRS liens. And then you'll want to contact separately the town, the village, or the school. Now, a lot of this information is available online. We're going to show you how you can do that. Here's a free website that you can go to. It's called ImageMate by a company called SDG. and they have a lot of information for a good majority of the counties throughout New York State. Now, not every single county uses SDG ImageMate, but if it does, then you should be going to this site right here. And you want to take a picture of this slide and go to that sdgnys.com/#IMO shortcut. And you'll be able to look at a great amount of public information. One of them is an assessment report. And this will have a lot of good detail information about the property. There'll be links there to reports that you can look at. You can look at tax map information. You can generate reports, print them out for yourself, and you could also find Google Map links. So here's what that assessment report looks like. It's very detailed, gives you square footage, different property information that the assessor has entered into a statewide database. You'll also be able to look at property tax maps. Now, these are not survey maps. These are tax maps. These give you an approximate shape, dimension, and location of properties relative to others and relative to streets and highways. It's a great source to start doing your homework right there. I mentioned the Google Maps. This is a great tool that's part of that information. You can click on a share to your phone, a Google Map link with a pin, and it'll give you driving directions from wherever you happen to be directly to that property. Keep in mind, most improved properties have a full street address, including a number. They're easy to find. Vacant land, not so much. Most vacant land has no street number, and they're not the easiest to find. So you're going to want to use this type of map linking with your cell phone in order to drive directly to the parcel. Now, deeds, those are good things to read to verify the size of the property. You may want to look for things in the deed like rights of way or easement or other specific property information. The good news is that many of the counties today are completely online with the deed. So you can look up the book and the page. And that information was on the previous information I showed you, the assessor's report. They list the book and page. Make note of that. And then when you go to the county clerk's office online, you can look up specific property deeds. Now, most counties will charge you either a per page printing fee or a day pass fee in order to access the information. It varies all across the state. So take a look at that on your own. Now, do you do this title search yourself or do you hire a professional? If you're confident in doing your own work and rely on your own info and what you've discovered, good for you. I've been involved in this work for over 20 years. If I was to do this type of research and I can't bid on property, can't buy any in the auction, but if I was able to, I would still hire a professional and let them get me a title report. You're going to want to definitely look for IRS liens, as these have a 10-year lifespan from the date of filing. They can be renewed an additional 10 years. As long as the IRS was notified, they're no different than any other lien holder, whether it's a hospital, a nursing home, state income tax. All lien holders that are notified can be extinguished by this process. Again, the IRS has 180 days from the date of the auction to acquire the property directly from you at no profit to you and no loss. Now, local rule means that there are town or village codes governing the use or improvement of property. You're going to want to find out about potential water services or any sewer districts. You want to learn about the schools. These are local information, and you should contact the appropriate local agencies to do that. So, are you done yet? Well, I wish I could say yes, but not quite. You're going to want to learn more about these properties. You know, real estate's a local event. So counties are big places. They have lots of different parcels. And you're going to want to look for recently closed sales nearby to the subject property you're looking at in order to start to gain an apples to apples comparison for value. And there's many ways that you can do that. You can reach out to the realtor community. That's great. But they don't work for free. So you may want to consider hiring a local realtor in order to provide you with some information for a fee for that service. You could also look at sold sites. Realtor.com has sold information. So does Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, etc. There are a whole bunch of sites that you want to look at. Sold. Sold means that's what somebody was willing to pay, and that's the best comparison. Of course, you can look at listings like for sale, your local paper, Harmon Homes, House Upstate Magazine, etc. But those are the asking prices, not necessarily what properties sell for. While you're reviewing property, you're going to want to start taking a look at any cost of repairs or upgrades. And there are a number of ways to do that. Supply houses are great references for the trades. You may want to get some written estimates ahead of time and ask for satisfaction references from former clients of these tradespeople. It's important for you to understand that what you're buying may need some help, might need repair, might need upgrade, and you're going to want to get a good idea of what that investment may be going forward, and that homework needs to be done prior to your bidding. Again, when you ask a professional for advice, the advice is not always free, and keep in mind that free advice is not always best. So just be prepared to pay someone for their information or service. You're going to want to ask the hard questions first. If you see property that has yellow tape or violation signs, or in visiting the property, maybe you've actually witnessed some things that are quite questionable, you're going to want to ask further questions. And maybe some of the questions have to do with zoning, maybe some have to do with code violations, etc. Zoning dictates how properties can be used. So, can you build there? Can't you build there? Is the property big enough to do that? What can I do with this building? That's zoning. And you're going to want to ask those questions on a local level. Building codes have to do generally with safety and safety of the property. What's the design? What's the construction? Have there been maintenance issues? So again, the code department on the local level, that's going to be a great source of information for you. You're going to want to learn about services. Does it have private or public services? Things like public water, sewer, gas, electric. Those are good things to learn about. In very rural areas we go to, sometimes cable, telephone is not nearby. Neither is electric. I visited some properties recently that are completely off the grid. So you're going to want to know that prior to bidding. At the same time, if you do see a well or a septic system, you may want to ask locally and on the county level, what is the condition of that well? If it's known, how deep is it? Does it have potable water? Is the septic tank working? That may be local issue or countywide issue, and you're going to want to ask those questions. Here's an example of property that may not have road frontage. New York State does not recognize what some people call landlocked property. Consider landlocked being property like an island. It has no road actually touching it. And how do you get to it? So on a map, this property looks like it has a road. But in reality, those roads don't exist. They're just drawn on engineered plans and in the tax map. So when you take an aerial view of this property, you discover that it's just land, just woods. There are no roads there. So how do you get to that property? Some properties have a deeded right-of-way. That means you can make access to the property and use it for safe passage. Some have an easement. That's a right to go over somebody's land to get to yours, but you can't necessarily put in a driveway or a road. You want to ask some legal advice. We're not attorneys. We're not giving you legal advice. We're just giving you general information. But you're going to want to look for ways to get to property that we can consider to be rear property or landlocked property. How do you know that we're calling it landlocked or rear property? Typically, we're describing them as may not have road frontage. And when you start looking at maps and photographs, you'll see that they don't actually touch a roadway. Get all your important questions answered before bidding. At auction, when you start bidding, that means you want to buy the property. So are you ready to purchase? Let's try and get you good to go. So one of the most important things to be ready for at the auction is your finances. At the conclusion of bidding, a down payment will be required immediately, and that's going to be done through a credit or a debit card. And then after the auction, there's going to be a 30-day period or less to close. That means finishing out the transaction in a legal sense so that you are the new deeded owner. Keep in mind that all county tax properties are sold with no contingencies, no financing, no inspection, no excuses, closings. Any type of homework that you do needs to be done prior to bidding, and there are no changes to that format. We do accept credit or debit cards at the auction, Visa, MasterCard, and Discover, and we suggest that you call your card provider before you go to use that card and tell them, I'm making a real estate purchase. And you're going to want to estimate what your down payment is. An easy way to do that is to visit our website, nysauctions.com, and look for the down payment calculator. We have every county laid out in terms of their minimum requirements. You could put in the bid amount. You can take a click on that calculator, and it will show you exactly what your minimum down payments for the day will be. And then that's the kind of information you want to relay to your credit card provider and tell them, I'm going to make X dollars down payment on my credit card. They'll confirm that you've made that call. They'll put a note in their computer system so that on the day of the auction, when we run your card for the transaction, it actually works. Now, the auctions are primarily online again this year. We only have a couple of auctions that are contemplated as being in person, but for all other auctions, you will need to fully register online. At all auctions, you can bid online. So if you, even the in-person auctions, if you choose not to attend in person, you could bid online. You're going to want to look for the bidder information packet and get yourself registered. And you do that by getting a username and a password. You're going to have to provide proof positive identification of who you are. We use DocuSign system. Makes it very easy to use at home, very simple. It's quite secure, and we've registered thousands of people this way. But we do need proof positive identification of who you are. You're going to acknowledge that you've looked and read and understood the agricultural district disclosure, the agency disclosure, the new LLC disclosure if you're using that. And you're going to be able to go forward in your registration process as long as you check the boxes. So we do have New York State agency disclosure that we work exclusively for the seller, meaning the county. There is a federal lead paint form that lets you know the county has no idea about lead paint on these properties and that you will waive your right to do any post-auction inspection or the 10-day waiving your right to do an inspection. You're buying them as is, and you're not going to have any complaints later should you find lead paint. We have you sign and acknowledge, rather, the agricultural district disclosure form. Some properties are in an ag district, and you're going to buy them that way. There's a new fair housing notice that's been in effect the last couple of years, anti-discrimination disclosure notice, and there's a new LLC, proof of existence notification that you'll need to file if you're going to be buying these properties as an LLC. If you're bidding on behalf of someone else, not your married spouse, it's a partner or a partnership, you may need to have a power of attorney. We have a form that you can download on our website. That's just one form of many that you can use to submit, but you will need to provide that permission if you're going to be bidding on someone else's behalf. So at the outset, we've talked about all the different homework things that you need to do and all the paperwork. And sometimes when you go to buy real estate, you still feel like this guy. It's like things are tilted against you and you're on the wrong end of the field. The nice thing about auction is that by everyone performing the same paperwork and homework in advance, we create a level playing field. And the way we do that is through the terms of the auction. That makes all buyer offers equal. The only difference is the dollar amount bid. So every county does have terms and conditions, and we're going to have a separate recording specific to the county that you're interested in, talking about their terms and conditions. So you're going to want to take a look on our website. We're back to the email and make sure that you're getting to the correct terms and conditions recorded seminar. Once you get to our website on auction day, you'll see that the properties are going to be featured, the one that's being bid on, and then there's a list of properties to follow. It's easy to follow. Bidding happens one after the other. Sometimes we have 2 or 3 properties being bid on at the same time because people continue bidding on the property as they're scheduled to close out. It's very simple, very easy to follow. It works really well. We've sold several thousands of properties already through this system, and it works seamlessly. Once you are the high bidder, you will make an immediate down payment through your credit or debit card. We'll do that through our office, and then we're going to start sending you paperwork necessary to begin heading towards the closing process. You'll get a contract of sale. It's a very simple one-page document, contract of sale. We're going to process again your debit credit card. And then, this is kind of interjected here. Here's that down payment calculator I mentioned a few minutes ago. On our website, it shows you that you can search your minimum payment amounts and what they'll be. There are also some additional forms that you're going to sign at the auction. Not only the one-page contract of sale, deposit a receipt, but also there's some required New York State forms. There's a TP 584, which is the transfer tax report, and then a transfer of ownership report, the RP 5217. Those are all filed electronically with New York State, and that's how they keep track of all the property sales that occur. And they also use that information as part of the assessment information going forward on properties. A quick claim deed will be sent to you by mail once the county approves your bid. Right, all property bids have to be reviewed by the county. We don't have minimum starting bids or minimum bid requirements. They're reviewing to make sure that the buyer is not a delinquent taxpayer in their county. They don't want to sell more property to people who are not paying tax. So that's typically what the review is for. Once the county approves your bid, then all the paperwork is filed with the county clerk's office. And in New York State, the legal definition of when it becomes legally yours is when the deed is recorded in the public record. That's when it's officially your property. Even if you fully paid for it weeks before, it's still not your property until it's recorded. So when you get the quitclaim deed in the mail, that's when it's yours, and you can go and start doing whatever you need to do on that property. Typical quitclaim deed is 1 page and transfers title to you. So that's a general overview of what you should do and how things work at the tax auction. You should certainly follow the advice. If there are any additional steps that your attorney or tax professional tells you to take, you certainly listen to their advice as advised. But again, if you have property-specific information, you're going to want to contact the local town or village, the building department, the code officer, and then for tax information, town, village, school, or on the county level to find out about future taxes. General questions about the way to register or how you're going to participate in the auction can be sent to info@aarauctions.com. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hopefully getting to see you all again in person and in a not too near distant future. Thank you and have a great day.